Hello and welcome to Heal the World Show podcast, brought to you by the Healing Institute. I'm Parmelia Parham. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Healing Institute, and we are an online worldwide hub of holistic practitioners. And we are really out to make a difference in the world and really to help people have hope and to support people looking for alternative ways to be well and stay well on their health journey. Because let's face it, we're all on a health journey. So let's make it a proactive wellness society. I'm very, very excited about doing that. I called the Healing Institute an institute because I'm passionate about educating people around how to be well and stay well. So I wanted to let people know that the Healing Institute is also available we have practitioners. Presently, we have 10 practitioners representing 6 countries. And we also are looking for more practitioners, but we want to be available for those people who have an issue, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, and we're here for you. And so the reason that this is important to me is because we did have a tragedy in our family a few years ago. My mom passed away at the age of 61, and it was due to some complications with her kidneys because of a medication that she had been on for a very long time. And not once did, the doctor ever mention to her that could be complications if she was on this medication for a long time. So unfortunately, she died just before Christmas. I was 5 months pregnant with my son, my first child. And not only was it a tragedy that she died so young, but my children did not get to meet their grandmother. And that I don't want to happen for any other families. So that's why the Healing Institute is a creation that came about because I was meeting amazing holistic practitioners all over the world. Now, I've been doing the Heal the World Show podcast for just a little over a year. This is actually our 67th episode. And every week, I invite a guest co-host to come and talk about their area of expertise. And today, I am delighted to have Elle Granell with me, all the way from Mazatlan, Mexico. So welcome, Granell. Sorry, Elle. Your names rhyme. So we're delighted to have you here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And I know we're going to talk about some really amazing things today. Just to let people know, October's theme is superpowers. So we've got lots of superpower information to talk about today.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here, mostly because I'm always happy to share time with you.
Oh, thank you.
Love your energy and your mission. And the whole idea of having a collective community supporting each other's wellness is just a ripple effect that saves lives, right? Every ripple is another life that gets drawn into it. So, hearing the story about your mom is, something close to me as well. So I am excited to see where this conversation is going to go today.
Well, I'm just so delighted that you were able to say yes and you got back from all your trips that you've had in the last couple of months in time for today's episode. So we were thinking about talking about leadership as a superpower because I know you've done a lot of work with leadership, and I know that you have many different areas of expertise. You have the NLP, neuro-linguistic practitioner, and I want to really know a little bit more about your latest book that you wrote called The Team Whisperer: Successfully Lead a Cross-Generation Race and Gender Team. I love that whole idea of teams, of course. I do believe we work much better when we work as a team. So tell us a little bit about that.
I'd be happy to. So I always have my books near because they're like babies when you're a writer and and you
Yes.
finally birth your book. It's like the most exciting thing ever. And this one came about just before the pandemic because a lot of people were pushed up into leadership. Let me change that word. People were pushed into management positions that weren't qualified, weren't trained. They just were still around, had been possibly the longest employed person, you know, at the place. And they just weren't given the leadership skills. So in my mind, managing is for spreadsheets, you know, and the day-to-day business. Leadership is the people, leading the people. And it takes training and skills and all of that, because every human is different. We're faceted like diamonds, you know, like wearing a diamond ring. Each little facet that makes your place brilliant is one of your people on your team. So that's raising your emotional intelligence, that's improving your listening skills, that's becoming very empathetic in your language. It's now the big thing has been inclusion, you know, and making sure, and, you know, now with the pronouns, and there's just so many changes recently that it leaves people's heads sometimes spinning. And some people, when they tend to get a little older, dig their heels in and say, I don't want to change. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, which is an old school saying, right?
Yes.
And that's not true, because you do maintain your car so that it doesn't break, you know. So this
That's
is
a good analogy. Yeah, definitely.
this is maintenance, and it's always going to be needed in some aspect or another. So the book is really for entry level to mid managers that want to level up their leadership skill. And then I do go to businesses and organizations and groups and do the trainings either on site or via Zoom. But I love on site. I'm a people person. I will come to wherever you are and help your people get this information.
Well, I love that, Elle, because it's so important. You know, I worked for the Canadian federal government for many, many years, and I found what just similar to what you were saying, somebody had been in a position and they did that position really, really well, and then got promoted to be a supervisor or a manager without any of the training or the skill set. And they didn't know how to be necessarily a supervisor or a manager, or how to lead people. So it's so very important, the work that you're doing, that we're, you know, companies are hiring you in order to teach, and we're all teachable. We can, I believe we can be taught to be leaders once we're given the skills to do that. And you know, the old paradigm I was in, the position that I was in when I worked for the government was looking after the area of the local offices that did counseling, like counseling to get people jobs. And the old school was really based on a military model that certainly didn't work then. And it definitely doesn't work now. So looking at, you know, top down, giving the orders, expecting the orders to come through. And I come from a military family. My dad was in the Canadian Navy, so I understand the concept. But again, we have to change with the times. So it's yeah, I really like that. The team as a team. You know, we call ourselves the Healing Institute. We call ourselves an international wellness community. And I encourage the practitioners to be part of that community, because they need to get to know each other, so that when clients come to the Healing Institute for help, if someone came to me, my modality is body code, which is releasing trapped emotions in the body. But I would very much recommend them to go to any of the other practitioners if it appeared appropriate, and of course, if they agreed. So I just quickly want to say hello to Marie Piplovic. She's one of our amazing holistic practitioners on the hub, and she usually hops on every Friday morning. So welcome, Marie. We're happy to have you here. She's going to just stay in the background. She may send us some questions, which is always great. And then at the end, after we finish recording, then she'll come on and meet Elle. So tell me a little bit more then about some of the mindful mindset work that you have done as well.
I love the work that I do. So my business is called True Speak, and my catchphrase is say what you want, the truth is in you. And, you know, I had the the childhood of being I say a graduate, not a survivor, a graduate of all the abuses, put the word in front of it, financial, physical, sexual, emotional, all the abuses. Grew up in a trailer park in poverty, and this type of thing where a lot of people think there's no hope for you, right? How are you going to break the chain, get over the fence, and that kind of thing. And basically, I knew that I wanted to go to college, even though I'm not an intellectual book person. Studying those types of rote skill things don't come naturally to me, but I saw it as a way out. So I found a way to go to college. And once I did that, then everything started shifting, but I still had that mindset of poverty. I still had that mindset of not being good enough, that mindset of, don't dress too sexy, you'll be abused, or even pretty, forget sexy,
Yeah.
and all of that was still weighing down on me like rocks in a backpack. And I started then getting into self-help stuff back in the day, and I'm dating myself. There was a organization or a thing called Nightingale Conant. So
I remember that. Yes, for sure.
there used to be this thing where you could get cassettes in the mail, right? Or it could even be books or record albums or whatever. And so then at the time I'd get these cassettes or these books from all these people, like Wayne Dyer and Zig Ziglar, and all of these folks. And Les Brown, and I loved it. I just dove right in. And then one day, and I can't put my finger on it, but one day, Familia, my whole body woke with the knowledge I'm in control. It's not my dad. It's not the government. It's not that I'm a, Latina. It's nothing. It is all in me. It's none of those external labels. Hello, my name is minority female,
Right.
And so once I let go of that, and it was like that, but not exactly, right? Because I've been on this journey for a while, but that awareness then led me to neuroscience. Why do we think that way? Wiring and firing. And then that was supported by the movie, What the Bleep Do We Know?
Oh, I love that movie. I was kind of doing self-analysis of where I wanted to go just at the same time, and got introduced to people that I was studying with and hanging out with just when that movie came out. So yeah, I can totally relate to what you're saying. Yeah, sorry, interrupted.
It's exciting. It gets that people who have seen it, they get excited when I mention that movie.
Actually, I still have the DVD on my bookshelf.
You have the DVD.
Yeah, that goes to prove how old it is, because
And so when we're on the right path, we keep getting validated, right?
Yes.
These things just keep showing up. And I was so passionate, and that was just validation that this is, helpful. And then that was followed, many years later by The Secret and other things that have brought this awareness globally, more, on a bigger scale. And so that's what I do now, true speak, is I help people work with the neuroplasticity in their mind to rewire those old paths, because you don't have to go that way anymore. And it's like this, when we do the same thing very often, like you turn right out of your driveway because that's the way to work. And then on the weekend, you want to go to the beach, but you still turn right. And you're like,
So the beach is to the left.
The beach is to the left, exactly. And so we can rewire the ways we think. So it starts to fire, and then that electromagnetic current starts to draw other people, places, and things that match that vibration. And I don't want to say it's that simple, but it is the first start. So it's awareness, right? And that's why I'm not a fan of affirmations and even goals and that kind of stuff, because they lack the passion, they lack the rewiring that's necessary. So if you say, I'm going to start my own business and be a millionaire, your brain will say, who are you talking to? Who are you talking about? Because you still are going right out of the driveway instead of left. And so that's why I love what I do, because it affects lasting change. It helps you become instead of just shift.
Well, and I love that you said that, because finding out that we do have the capability of making that change ourselves is so powerful. I remember when I first started studying under my energy teacher, which was over 25 years ago now, and I studied with her for 8 years. She gave me the language. I kind of intuitively already knew a lot of things, but I didn't have the language. I didn't know what I had intuition, but I didn't have the word for it. She really helped me put the language together so that I could understand who I was. And one of the my aha moments was realizing that whatever was happening for me, it was happening for me, not to me. And also I was responsible for it. So
Yeah.
no more blaming parents, no more blaming the government, no more blaming the school system.
Mhm.
And the other part of that was I could attract, I understood the law of attraction by then. And yes, you can attract good. Well, why do I have bad going on in my life? Or something that's not quite as good as you would like to have. Well, that was a lesson. It's a lesson that I needed to learn in order for me to be able to do what I do. And honestly, I am doing what I'm meant to be doing. And at the time, I never in a million years thought that I was going to, after studying with her, that I was actually going to be doing some energy work and being a healer. I had no idea what was going to happen. I was just doing it for me to start with because I knew I needed to. I was not in a very happy place at the time, so and not a good relationship, and so I knew intuitively I needed to go in. And so I think that's beautiful because I think that's what you, in fact, are helping people do is understand where we are as people, and where we are right now doesn't mean we have to be stuck there, stay there. So Marie's got a great question here. How would you reframe a goal as an example?
Right. So like when I said, I'm not a fan of affirmations and goals. So what happens is goals are great because they're like putting a pin on the map going, this is where I want to go next spring. Right. And, but then what happens is people don't reverse engineer it. So if I'm going to go there in July of 2025, what does that look like in June of 2025, May of 2025? So you go backwards. And a great movie that illustrates this is Hidden Figures, where these women, they reverse engineer how to get these people home safely back from, space to landing. And then once you do that, you bring it to, well, what does that look like today? What one step can I do next week? And so that part is often missing. People think, well, what can I do today to get there? And then we'll eventually very often get a stumble, a hurdle, and then we give up the goal.
Yeah.
Because we started from the ground up. Now that does work for some mind types do need that, and they can get over the hurdles, but most of us need to bring it down. And then the next step is, so that's what do I want? How can I get there? And who can help me?
Mm-hmm.
Who lean into your community and the love and the support of the people you trust. Now, that's not to say that sometimes people we trust won't let us down, and we can release them if necessary, or rehab the situation, because like you mentioned, things are often a lesson and a mirror.
Yes.
We're really looking at ourselves and we just don't realize it. And that's why I love to handhold people while they look in the mirror, either, physically or metaphorically, because that's the hard part is, what's my role? So when
one of my dear friends and colleagues, she always talks about keeping the end in mind. So what is the result that you want? Not just to have the goal, but what is the result that you want from that goal? And Maria apparently knows that movie. So she thinks it's awesome. So what, how, and who are those the questions that we should be asking ourselves?
Yeah, so it starts with what do I want? How do I get there from the top down? And even if you don't know and it becomes overwhelming, just tell yourself it's okay if it's overwhelming. That's a natural response to wanting something big, right? And then that's where the who comes in. So, what I want, how am I going to get there? And then if you're feeling any stumble, who can help me? Who's done this? What YouTubes can I watch? What books can I read? Because somebody has already been there, done that. Don't reinvent.
It's so important for us. That's a great lesson for us to learn as individuals to reach out to other people and to ask for help. I just say there's a whole generation of us as women who were never taught to ask for help. That was showing some kind of weakness, or we should have known the answer, or we're also taught to give and give and give and give and not have any self-care and self-love, which Marie and I have these conversations on a regular basis. So she knows exactly what I'm talking about. So one of the things that I help my clients with, I'm also, as well as being a body code practitioner, I also help my clients realign some belief systems. So looking at, okay, what is that belief that I've grown up with? And all of a sudden, you're now a mature adult, I'll say, and you're like thinking that doesn't really fit for me anymore. So I take my clients through that, how to kind of find out what that belief is you no longer want, but incorporate the new belief into their energy aura, into their body, into their system. So it takes you one step past the affirmations, because affirmations are just words. You have to feel that. You have to feel it in your body. You have to live it. You have to be it for it actually to make, for there to be a difference, I believe. Anyway, that I've had quite a few clients that have actually been able to do that, overcome those limiting beliefs of how they were raised. So yeah, that's so important. So what has Marie's got? A couple more here. How seems to be a place where folks get stuck. And she says, I get stuck there. How would you approach the stuck point?
Yeah, and so I would just go back to saying there's so much content out there by people that have already been there, done that. Tons of content, like I said, on YouTube, and there's books, and you can even go into Chat GPT, use AI and say, what's the best way to plan a trip to Florence in 2025, May of 2025. You're going to start getting some content. And then, so that's a combination of how and to lean into community, right? So if you get stuck on the how am I going to get there? Go ahead, if it helps, start with today. What can I do today? So go top down and go bottom up. They all give you valuable information. It's just been my experience with the people that I work with is when you go from where you want to be to where you are today is a little earlier, because we get stuck in today. I got to go grocery shopping. I got to do the laundry. I've got to, go to work. I've, got to go to the gym, all these have tos that also weigh us down. Right. Mm. And so it's important, like you said, I agree with you 100%, that vibration. So when we do our goals from the top down, we keep our vibration high.
Yes.
Still looking up here at the end result. And that vibration of appreciation for the journey is what keeps us happening. And what's super cool is sometimes the journey goes this way and you're like, wow, I would have never, ever ended up in Zimbabwe. I hadn't dreamed to go to Florence, because it just took you that way. And that's what I got goosebumps. That's what I really love, when the journey takes a turn just around the river bend.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So it's really good.
I love that part, because really we haven't, I say our finite mind can only imagine so much, but the universe and God might have a bigger plan. The Healing Institute is a perfect example. Before the pandemic, I was looking around the small city where I live on Vancouver Island for a building that I was going to have, available for practitioners. And we've got lots here on Vancouver Island that would, be able to use it for yoga retreats or workshops, or I even wanted to have a couple of offices so people could see their clients there if they chose to do that. Well, then that was in the fall of 2019. So we know what happened in 2020. And now I'm on networking platforms all over the world, and I'm realizing that there's amazing holistic practitioners everywhere. So in my mind, I feel like I was divinely led to go into something more global and more online, because all of the practitioners at the Healing Institute have their own businesses, they have their own client base, they're part of the Healing Institute just for that extra global or more global reach that they're looking for. So you never know what's, there's many things that I know were negative around the pandemic, but I actually feel from an energy point of view, it was something that the world needed to slow us down and to, I would have never met you, Al.
Exactly.
I probably wouldn't even have met, I wouldn't have met all of my practitioners that are on the hub. So,
It's true. I had a, let's see, I started teaching aerobics back in 1984, and then I became a leader and a CEC provider, and COVID literally killed that career. It's not, group fitness classes in a closed environment are not ever going to really be the same. And it forced me to pivot to this, like what you were saying. I used to go to those fitness classes and I used to see clients in my office around the work that I do. And now I have clients globally, and
yes.
I do teach fitness classes in the park, and I tried teaching fitness classes online. It didn't work. But that shift of thinking, that's over, now what, is a really big place to be, because it's never the end, right? If you're breathing, there's more opportunity.
Absolutely. And, case in point, I only ever saw my clients in person. I mean, I was just, my other company is called Vibrational Healing. So I was just getting it started, but I only saw in-person clients. I may have one or two over phone clients, but I didn't know anything about Zoom. It was a whole new skill set to learn on how to be online and how to conduct business online and see your clients online. So let's see, Marie's got another. Abraham Hicks would say, don't worry about the how. Yeah. And I follow Mike Dooley, who is the Notes on the Universe, and he's like he calls them the cursed hows. So it's not our job to figure out how it's supposed to happen. It's just our job to believe that it will happen to the best of what it might not be exactly. As you say, you're going to Florence and you end up in Zimbabwe, but what an experience.
Yes. My mentor says there are no unrealistic dreams or desires. There's just unrealistic timeframes. So when we put a chokehold on it has to happen by this time, we squeeze the life out of it. So to let go of all of it, to have a plan. Don't just say, I'd like to go to Italy and then the universe is going to send me there, right? You've got to have the plan. You've got to make the connections. You've got to send the vibration of energy out there and then say, I've done all I can do. I'm along for the ride. Let's enjoy it. And that's why I'm a huge fan of Abraham Hicks. They keep it so simple, because you were just talking about the language. It's just words, right? And having done NLP forever, when you say something like, I need help, it's so hard to say that. But if you can loosen it up and give it a higher vibration word of assistance, need some
Yes.
assistance, because they're doing it they're assisting you.
Yes.
Help feels like they're standing on you to get it done.
Or you're way down here and somebody else they've got the answer and you don't have the answer, which is a low vibration. So I often like to refer to Dr. David R. Hawkins' map of consciousness, which has the levels of vibration. And we're not taught any of this. This is all learning. Al and I have learned, and Marie, we've all been learning this for, quite a few years, and I love learning. So I'll be a lifelong learner for sure. Anything new and especially if it's science-based, I know, from, we had here on the island back in 2018, it was called the Science and Spirituality Conference. And people like Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, Lynn Carroll, sorry, Lynn McTaggart. They all came for a whole week here on our little Vancouver Island in Canada. And they didn't come to the big city and the big conference center. They came to a smaller city that's about a 20-minute drive from where I live. And I used to be an event planner. So my event planning hat was like, why did they pick Nanaimo? Why did they not pick Vancouver, which has got a bigger conference center, or Victoria? Well, the organizers told us it was because of the energetic vortex that we have here in the middle of the island. But I was telling people, now this is 2018, June of 2018. I was saying, I'm so excited. These are, you could see my bookcase behind me if I didn't have my banner up. Those are the books that are on my bookcase, all those people. And so I was so excited. I was going around saying, there's a fitness class I used to go to, and I'm like, I'm going to this science and spirituality conference on the weekend. I'm so excited. They're like, is that not an oxymoron, like science and spirituality? I went, no, it goes together so perfectly. And that's what excites me. It's when I know the science is behind what's going on and what's happening. And all of those people that came, of course, they love to explain how that happens.
Yes. And this, like the science of the mind, the science of getting rich, there's just so much science out there, and they're actually just kind of catching up in a way. And these
Yes.
papers are finally being published that have been written. And so you can find the science to back up, all of these things that seem like miracles, or circumstance or happenstance, or no, they were all vibrationally created. And that's why when I work with women more specifically who get in these pity parties at work and with their friends, and they go, drinking, and maybe they have a book club, but they really end up in the woe is me. That's that vibrational chart that you were talking about. And they keep their vibration low by hanging out with low vibe people, as we've heard that, you want be high vibe people like you. And so be mindful of how your words are vibrating, how your thoughts are vibrating, how your friends, your meals, everything you can level up when you need it. So
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
low, you can say, what can I do to shift this?
Yeah, and just knowing is there is a process that you can tap into in order to make that shift. So let's see, Marie's got a great comment here. She said she had an experience the other day where someone told her that she'd have to unlearn everything. Well, she says, I'm not willing to unlearn. I might not use everything I learn all the time. And if it's there if I ever want to pull it up and use it. So she wanted to know if you've ever had an experience like that where you were advised to unlearn what you had learned.
So I love Abraham Hicks does a thing about having the ideal relationship by unlearning everything of your previous relationships, letting go, not being you. Don't bring any of you into this new relationship. And so kind of like how she said, I'm not willing to unlearn. It's like, well, who can not bring you to a relationship? But all of the aspects that we are from our past, right? So I find myself optimistic, energetic, happy. Those are all my mom's traits, and she radiated those. And so I do also, right? But I did have to unlearn the ones that weren't serving me, the fear, the doubt, the worry, the not good enough traits. And so my experience is a little bit different. To answer that question, Marie, is what will happen to us often is we'll make a big decision. Like after 24 years of marriage, I asked for a divorce. And the amount of push down I got from people about being selfish and just so many narcissistic and so many other things. But I knew in my heart, the true brain, that it was the right thing to do, and now that was, I don't know, 15 years ago or whatever, and we're all friends and everything's worked out just fine. But I had to unlearn the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, I have a similar story. It was a 20-year marriage. And that was when I was starting to search, because I knew I wasn't happy, and I wanted to be living in that space of joy. And so when I was searching, and not that there wasn't a lot of conversation and discussion around how we could change the relationship, but you have to have two parties willing to change the relationship, not just one. Well, we have got to the end of our 30 minutes together. Actually, we've gone over a little bit, but that's okay. I'm just so delighted to have had this conversation with you, Al. Yes, for sure. So You know, we have this vision that we really want to make a difference in the world when it comes to health and healing. And I created, as I mentioned earlier, created the Healing Institute because I'm so passionate about having a proactive wellness society and educating people on ways they can be well and stay well. I didn't know all of these different ways that, our bodies are so amazing. We can actually heal ourselves. Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about the biology of belief. If you believe it, it will happen. And whether it's a negative belief or a positive belief. So it's so very important for us to be part of a community that can support us. And that's what the Healing Institute is. Our motto is service with love. And I love that motto. And we really do believe in supporting each other and letting people know that we have some of the most amazing holistic practitioners on our hub, and they are ready for you if you need them and when you need them. So we have a big ask that we are asking you to share this video, to share this conversation that Al and I have had today. Share it with your community, share it with your family and your friends, and let people know that the Healing Institute is here. And you got to meet another amazing healer, Al Grinnell. So thank you for being my guest co-host today.
My pleasure. Hope to spend more time with you sooner than soon.
All right.
Especially where you live.
I'm looking forward to that since you know about where I live and you're coming to visit a friend. So that'll be wonderful. So we will talk to you again next week on Heal the World Show podcast.